Hi, everyone, and thanks for joining us for our webinar on using FileCatalyst with Caringo Swarm. We have someone from FileCatalyst on with us. We're pretty excited. We have a lot of information to cover, but before we begin, just want to go over some housekeeping items. Feel free to ask questions throughout the webinar by typing them into the question dialog window in the control panel. We like to have an informal webinar, so we like to ask questions throughout. It'll be conversational since we have an expert in large file transfer on the webinar with us. And if for some reason you don't want to ask your question during the live webinar, or if you have a question after the fact, go ahead and send them directly to us. We'll have our contact info at the end of the webinar, but just in case you're watching a recording, you can send it to info@caringo.com and go ahead and answer your questions when we get them. And with that, let's begin. So my name is Adrian Herrera. I'm the VP of Marketing for Caringo, and with me I have Elton Carniero. Elton, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Adrian. Hi, my name is Elton Carniero, and I'm with FileCatalyst. I handle all strategic partnerships as well as our cloud services here at FileCatalyst.
So maybe, Elton, I think if you want to tell everyone a little bit about FileCatalyst on this slide here.
Yeah, absolutely. So FileCatalyst is a pure software platform that allows you to transfer files in a secure, efficient, and reliable manner. It's a patented algorithm based around the UDP protocol. We've been around for 17 years. We have a support for a lot of object storage, including Caringo. We have a number of tools that we've developed that really allow you to manage your entire deployment and see what's going on with your transfers, as well as closely monitor how much bandwidth each of those nodes are using up. Being a software platform, we have a strong set of APIs that allows developers to consume different file transfer services that we offer, as well as different tools that we offer that allows them to really develop and customize the workflows that they build to move large files. And none but least, our software is very easy to use. You can get up and running in under 30 minutes. If you look at some of our customers, us being a file transfer solution, we consider a horizontal application, meaning that we can work in any vertical. One of the largest verticals that we work with is media and broadcast, but we're selling to oil and gas, government, IT, finance, medical, gaming companies, and so on. So here are some of our customers that have taken pride in using FileCatalyst within their workflows to achieve large file transfer. I think so. Adrian, it's back to you.
All right, and you won an award, right? A recognizable award. I recognize what that is.
Yeah, so that is correct. So we won a couple of Emmys for the work we've done in the file transfer space in media and broadcast. So we've been recognized as one of the pioneers of accelerated file transfer, and we've achieved an award for that. We also won an award for the work we did around the Sochi Games, the Winter Olympics that happened in Sochi a few years ago, for the work that what we did and how we helped NBC Sports basically develop some advanced workflows that allowed them to consume media as it was generated by cameras.
That's great. I think it just speaks towards the issues that organizations, especially in the media and entertainment space, face when trying to transfer large files. And the fact that you guys won an Emmy really talks to how forward-thinking, innovative your application, your software is. And to go along with a large file transfer, you obviously need a place to store that, and you connect it to on-premise storage. We'll go into the solution more a bit, but I just wanted to give everyone a very high-level overview of Caringo. We are storage software experts. We've been doing this, it says 10 years there, but it's actually 12 years. And we've continued to innovate in storage software. We primarily focus on the enterprise, and what we let people do is use commodity hardware, they install our software, and we create, it's not just a storage platform, it's really a data management platform. So Object storage is kind of a little misnomer. We'll go into it in a bit, but it does much more than just store content. You can see some of our customers. We have over 500,000 or 500 deployments with very large organizations, Department of Defense, Department of Justice, in the media space, NEP, a lot of IHC portfolio companies. NEP uses us to broadcast Fox Sports. So just like FileCatalyst, we work in lots of different industries, medical, HPC, M&E, and federal and local government are really where we focus as an organization. And what really drives us at Caringo, kind of our vision, it's in today's world, content is not deleted. This could be for any number of reasons. It could be because you need to reuse it, you don't know the value of the data, you don't exactly know how to delete it, maybe it doesn't have value to you. And an interesting use case in the media entertainment space is, for copyright holders, sometimes they need to delete it after a specific period of time, and it's difficult for them to do that, to manage it. But overall, in today's world, content is not deleted, and we really focus on providing software that helps you store all of that content and also manage it, so that if it does need to be deleted or if it does need to be moved to secondary storage like Swarm, like our storage, we help facilitate that in an automated fashion and make it more of a business process instead of a technical issue. And you notice I talked about object storage. Let's go in, again, a very high-level overview on what object storage is. So from a high level, there's three different types of storage. There's object storage, there's file, and there's block storage. You can think of block storage as just your raw disk. You need to install something on it. You need to install an operating system that comes with a file system, and then you take it from there. So block storage is really great for VM enablement to run your virtual machines on, for high transaction database type applications, and that's really what it was designed for. And then in the middle there you have file storage. And file storage usually comes with the OS already installed. It's based upon standard storage protocols. It's probably what most people interface with on a daily basis. It's what your Windows machine uses. It's what Mac OS uses, and others. And it really came up to help ease the collaboration on files. And you have certain mechanisms in there, file locking and other added value. And of course, everything's standards-based, so a lot of applications just work out of the box with file storage. And then you move to object storage. And this is really where the storage world is headed to for storing massive amounts of information. And the real reason why is the underlying way that content is stored in object storage. When you store a file, you get a key back, and all you need is that key to access a file again. It's very similar to valet. You go and you park your car, they give you a ticket. To get that car back, you just give them your ticket. And you see there's a lot of other value adds to object. I won't go into detail here. We have some great webinars that go into detail on object storage on Caringo.com. We encourage you to go see them. And also on our Bright Talk channel, we encourage you to go see them. But to point out, for the purposes of this webinar, just want to point out that object is the foundation for cloud storage. So the reason I'm setting the stage here is because Elton's going to walk you through how FileCatalyst plugs into cloud providers and also plugs into on-premise storage. But from the on-prem storage perspective, solutions like Swarm, object storage solutions, really bring you the benefits of cloud storage, of using a cloud storage secure in your own data center. Now the difference is, you do have to purchase the hardware, the underlying hardware, but you don't get the ongoing cost of a service like you would in Amazon or Microsoft Azure. So there's pros and cons. It really depends on what you're trying to achieve. But for very secure point-to-point file transfer solutions, you really need to have that on-prem within your own data center and to control the entire file transfer process. At the heart of the things that really drive the enablement of cloud storage and object storage, it really is the ability to have a level of economics to get on the commodity cost curve by using commodity hardware and provide automated management and migration and automatic management of content in a way that's invisible to applications. So, we at Caringo have had one system administrator handling up to 20 petabytes of storage. And we know, some of our other competitors have had similar types of economies of scale from the operations perspective. But we do things a little differently at Caringo. And the next few slides will show you that. From a technical perspective, let me go back here. I fast forwarded a bit too much. We focus on the invisible storage. Where we're a little different there is we allow you to mix and match hardware. So let's say you have a great deal on 4 terabyte drives and a specific chassis. If a year from now, you somehow find yourself getting a great deal on 8 terabyte drives, you can rip those out of one chassis, kind of pop in, rip the 4 terabyte drives out, pop in the 8 terabyte drives, and the software will balance everything for you. And you can mix and match vendors and different types of chassis, so we're very flexible from that perspective. We also allow you to have 100% uptime, or to architect in a way where you can get 100% uptime for your applications. So we're also bulletproof. And from the limitless perspective, we focus on integrating data services, multi-protocol access, and linear scale out. So, we do have some very technical differences within our product. Again, we have some great webinars that go over this. I don't want to go into too much detail here, but I wanted to point out some of the differences because they will come up later on in the webinar. But the overall business benefits, what this brings you as a user of our storage, is lower TCO, eliminated risk, or reduction of risk, I should say, and improved productivity. And you can see the UIs there. That's how we also differ. We not only have a UI for your infrastructure management, we have a UI for multi-tenant management, and as you'll see here in a bit, we have a UI for data management. So, once we help you manage massive amounts of hardware very easily with a UI, we let you manage millions of users with our multi-tenant UI, and we let you manage billions and billions of files with our content management UI. That's really, the content management UI is really, where we shine as an organization, because everything is automated, and everything, all the functionality that we expose in our UIs is also available via an API. We've been doing this for organizations across the world for a very long time, and one of the common questions we're always asked is, hey, great, you can store all this information, great, but I want to send my files very quickly over over a certain geographic area. We're in the media entertainment space and other spaces, we often see LA to somewhere in Europe, or we see from coast to coast, from the East Coast to the West Coast, or in Europe, actually, for some compliance use cases, we're seeing sending to a different country where the organization has a secure data center for compliance purposes and regulatory purposes. And we went out, we took a look at the market, and we said, okay, who can we partner with to really help us with large file transfer? What are some of the best solutions out there in the market? And that led us to FileCatalyst. And with that, I'll hand it off to you, Eldon, to take us through FileCatalyst.
Yeah, thanks, Adrian. One note you did mention early on was, the difference between, object store and a data management platform. I found it really interesting because, I've never really thought about it that way, but, I'm glad you, shed some light on that. That's what's, quite interesting.
Yeah, that's one thing we hear a lot. It's not so much the struggle storing a lot of information, although that is a huge issue. It's how do I organize it? How do I find out what has value? How do I delete what needs to be deleted? And furthermore, how do I do that in an ongoing process? I think people can do that in an ad hoc way, but how do you automate the process? Because as you know, there's always employee turnover, or someone with some critical information may leave. We're really focused on helping people, not just today, but automating that process so that, they're secure, for the next 5 years, 10 years from now.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, I guess going back to the question, which is on the screen, how do I transfer large files quickly and securely? So if you look at today's world, companies, businesses, organizations, will use different means to transfer files. They'll use public file transfer services, which, offer a subscription model, but it's more users going to this approach because for some reason they can't move large files on your enterprise network, so they start consuming services that have not been provisioned or approved by IT. Then you have companies implementing FTP servers to share content within the organization, which works great if you're within the same network. But as I said, moving globally, I'll look at the issues around FTP and why FTP is an unreliable solution. Then you have companies who smartened up and start using technologies like FileCatalyst with a great storage platform like Caringo Swarm. So let's dive into this a bit. So to understand, what FileCatalyst does, let's look at the underlying file transfer technology that, these services offer and the services use. At the core, we have two protocols. We have the TCP protocol and UDP. So with TCP, you have, transfer solutions like FTP, HTTP that are built on top of TCP. And the idea is that, TCP was designed for sending small amounts of data. However, when it comes to sending large amounts of data, this is where it sort of breaks down and falls apart. So what affects it, really? If you go to look at it, it's the latency. And what is latency? Latency is, the round trip time from when you send a packet from the source to the destination and receive a response that the packet has been received. So the idea is that the further away you are, the longer it takes for the packet to be sent as well as received. If you look at FileCatalyst, we do things a bit differently. We basically go ahead and saturate your pipe and make sure we're continuously filling that, that link with data, and we'll only acknowledge what's missing. So let's jump forward a bit here. So how does latency affect speed? So what we have in front of you here is a simple graph that talks about, and it shows you basically how this latency affects your file transfer speed. So what I have here on the y-axis is our throughput, how much bandwidth your link may carry, as well as the round trip time, the latency on the x-axis. If you look at about 100 megabits, at around the 0 to 1 millisecond, 2 millisecond mark, you can see a degradation in FTP, but not a huge degradation. However, as the latency increases, you go to the 35 milliseconds, 40 milliseconds, you'll see FTP plummet. Whereas with FileCatalyst, we're maintaining that straight line right across, the 100 megabits, guaranteeing you full line speed.
And you mentioned latency, and distance. Are there any other things other than distance that can affect latency?
Yeah, absolutely. So you have, for example, congestion, which I'll talk about in a few minutes, when you have more people on the network that are trying to use that same network, which causes your data from, reaching the destination point in an efficient amount of time. So this is also considered as latency. So anything that impairs the network would be considered as latency.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'll just go forward. So what does FileCatalyst offer from a protocol standpoint? So as I mentioned, we can transfer files at full line speed. It's a UDP protocol, so we leverage the UDP protocol, which is unreliable by default, but our proprietary and patented algorithms that does retransmission and congestion control make it a much more, superior protocol to use. We can transfer files up to 10 gigabits per second with encryption. As I mentioned, we're not affected by latency. We're linear with packet loss. We offer features like, encryption to make sure the files are encrypted end-to-end, as well as compression if your files are, compressible, without compromising speed. So what this means is that, we recommend a multi-core CPU architecture, and we can leverage multiple cores for different, features and functionality in addition to file transfer.
And for your encryption, I mean, who handles key management? Does the application handle key management?
Absolutely. So the application has a secure control connection, which is over SSL, and we share an AES key between the client and the server that encrypts and decrypts the data in transit.
Great.
Okay. So we talked earlier about congestion control. So what is congestion control? This can be equated to network fairness. So how FileCatalyst plays fair on the network amongst other applications, amongst other protocols, and so on. So, at a high level, by default, we play fair, meaning that we'll never consume your entire network. We'll see what's available, and then we'll basically react to that, link availability. As applications come on and start using it, so people start, browsing the web, streaming videos, even doing other file transfers within their network, we'll slow down to give them room to do that. As soon as they're done, we'll detect that, bandwidth has become available, and we'll ramp back up. The good thing with FileCatalyst, from links anywhere from 1 megabit per second all the way to 1 gigabit per second, there's no additional tuning required. So out of the box, software can get you the speeds. It's no problem at all. And so going back to the question, how fast is FileCatalyst? So if you look here, we have two charts that compare FTP to FileCatalyst. So this is your standard FTP protocol and how it compares to the FileCatalyst software on various links. The top chart is a 1 gigabit connection, whereas the bottom chart shows you a 10 gigabit connection. On the 1 gigabit connection, we have different links here. So the first one is from Amsterdam to London. We're transferring a 10 gigabyte file on a 50 millisecond link. On a 50 millisecond latency link, whereby FTP takes an hour and 28 minutes, whereas FileCatalyst takes a minute and 23 seconds. The same file, 10 gigabytes, on a link from New York to Buenos Aires, where the latency is 150 milliseconds, FTP takes 3 hours and 6 minutes, whereas again, FileCatalyst takes a minute and 23 seconds. The third case here, transferring a file from LA to Mumbai, a 10 gigabyte file. You have a latency of about 220 milliseconds. FTP takes about 3 hours and 22 minutes, whereas FileCatalyst takes a minute and 23 seconds. So this goes to show you that, again, regardless of how far the two endpoints are, we're immune to that latency, and we can, transfer that file in the same amount of time, throughout. Going to the second case, which is go ahead.
Oh, no, I said, yeah, this is what I found most impressive. I'll let you walk through the second case, but then I do want to point a few things out here.
Yeah, so if you look at the second case, which is, again, a much more interesting case, whereby if you're lucky to have a 10 gigabit connection, like what some of our customers do, transferring a file from LA to New York, the same 10 gig file over 70 milliseconds of latency, you're looking at FTP will take about 2 hours and 19 minutes, whereas FileCatalyst can transfer that file in 8.4 seconds. LA to Rio, the same file, 10 gigabytes. The latency is 130 milliseconds. FTP takes about 3 hours and 27 minutes, whereas FileCatalyst takes 8.4 seconds. And then the last line is London to Sydney, where you have about 300 milliseconds of latency. That 10 gigabyte file, where it takes FTP 5 hours and 50 minutes, FileCatalyst transfers in 8.4 seconds. So
yeah, I can see why you guys won an Emmy. I think this is probably one of the most impressive graphs that I've seen in a while. I can see how you guys would really optimize the media entertainment workflow and other workflows for large file transfer. The one thing, and we had discussion about this before, is, I like the analogy that you used. I compared this to putting your files on a bullet train versus, trying to get somewhere on the 405 freeway in LA during rush hour. I guess that maybe that's a little regional too regional for people. But you came up with a better analogy.
Yeah.
And
so think about it whereby you have a swimming pool that you need to fill up, right? And you're about 100 yards from that swimming pool, is where your tap is. So you can think of FTP as a person filling up that bucket at the tap, walking over to the pool, emptying it out, going back, filling it up again, and repeating the process until that pool is full. Now, when you look at FileCatalyst, you can think of a chain of people whereby one person's filling up the bucket, he hands it off, he immediately starts filling up the second bucket, and so on. So you have a chain of people filling up a pool whereby it's much more quicker, it's efficient, and it's better than FTP.
Yeah, definitely. And if you're going over the public internet, that guy going back to the tap may be taking a different route to the tap each time.
Yeah.
So it could get lost on the way. Yeah, this is really.
Too.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, this is a really impressive graph. But I like the analogy you use. I just wanted to point that out for our listeners.
Yeah, cool. So now let's talk about the FileCatalyst products. We have a number of products that we offer under the FileCatalyst umbrella. FileCatalyst Workflow, FileCatalyst Direct, FileCatalyst Central, and since we're a software application, we can exist on the cloud. We also have native integration to various object stores, public object stores, as well as since Caringo is an on-premise object storage platform, we support Caringo as well on-premise. And I'll basically talk about the benefits of using an on-premise versus the cloud in a few slides. So the first product I would like to highlight is our FileCatalyst Direct. So this is our core, product. It's a point-to-point software solution, server-client model, which offers end-to-end encryption when you're transferring your files. It's platform agnostic, meaning you can run the application on any operating system, Windows, Mac, Linux, Solaris. It's up to you. You can have the server on a Linux box, where the client's on Windows or Mac. It really doesn't matter. We have a number of different client options. We have automation clients, we have desktop clients, we have browser, a way to transfer files right from within your browser. We have a mobile client as well as our SDK. Our SDK can be used to integrate within any application. We offer it in different languages, and you can consume it, as many, in different ways and so on. On the server side, it being a software application, it can run on any physical or virtual hardware. We also can attach to local storage, a SAN and NAS. In addition, we can attach to object storage, so any cloud storage. The next product we'll talk about is FileCatalyst Workflow. So FileCatalyst Workflow sits on top of the FileCatalyst Direct for file transfer acceleration. But the idea of Workflow, it's a web-based tool that allows you to ingest content into a central location, as well as deliver content out to anyone with an email address. So the two main workflows are ingesting, so you can basically define custom metadata that you would like to receive along with your files. That custom metadata is converted into an XML or a JSON file that you can feed into other applications. The workflow also offers you job notification and successful transfers. Both the user and the admin are notified when a transfer comes in, when a job is completed. You also can notify managers. You can configure to notify any manager levels if when you're submitting jobs into the system and so on. You can invoke third-party scripts as well from when a job is completed. This means that if you want to run an antivirus check or you want to transcode your files, FileCatalyst Workflow offers you this functionality to do that. Now your files are sitting on your machine or sitting on the server, and you need to deliver them out to people. Workflow also offers you the ability to send any file or folder to any email address, or as well as multiple email address. Since it's all web-based, the entire platform is completely customizable. You can use your own corporate colors, logos, and so on. You also have a full audit trail to see who's downloaded the files, who's accessed, when they downloaded the file. Our transmitter list shows you if you've sent the files to 10 emails. Out of those 10 emails, which ones have downloaded successfully, which ones haven't attempted, and so on. The last functionality that Workflow offers is the ability to expose a folder, within your server that it allows you to share files and collaborate on files with other people. So you can add stuff like a drop folder, an online storage drop folder functionality that allows you to do that within members of your group or with external people. And the last product that we have is the FileCatalyst Central, which is our central management application. It offers you a bird's eye view of your entire deployment. It's entirely web-based. You can access it from any machine, any tablet, and you can see what's going on in your network. It gives you real-time access to what transfers are going on, what nodes are alive, what nodes went down, any alarms that have been raised in the system. You can trigger alarms in the various different events, transfer events, application events, and so on. It gives you a full reporting of all the successful or failed transfers on your, within your deployment. We also have the ability to remotely administer a node, meaning that if you need to change a priority on a transfer, you can do it right from within Central. And we have a strong REST API that allows you to, again, script any sort of transfers through Central. Now, let's take a look at the integration we've done with Caringo Swarm. So this is a native S3 integration. Since Caringo offers an S3 API, we've consumed it, and we can read and write natively to the Caringo Swarm storage. So what this means is that no files are cached locally. When a client is sitting out in the field, the client uploads files to the FileCatalyst server. We convert that that data into objects and store it straight on the Caringo Swarm server. Clients are allowed to upload as well as download files and folders, and we take care of the translation into objects. The entire folder structure is maintained, so meaning if you are uploading folders, the user can see folders and files when they're interacting with the FileCatalyst client. Once the files have been uploaded, you can use any other application to access the files directly on Caringo Swarm. So this means that we don't use our own proprietary storing mechanism. It's all native to S3 and so on. And the most important feature of this is being able to accelerate your content, your transfers between the remote location and Caringo Swarm. Using the FileCatalyst, we leverage the UDP technology to get that acceleration to Caringo, and so this way, as you're remote, you can pull and push as much content as fast as you wish. So some of the benefits, again, you can archive to object store at really high speeds, regardless of where you are. You can synchronize content between different locations. So if you have multiple, Caringo Swarm deployments, you can accelerate content between the different, deployments. As well as you can imagine, with object store, it's a lot quicker to access archive content versus looking at legacy ways of using tape, etc.
Yeah, and one of the things, it was kind of a fourth bullet, but that would have messed up the three benefits. Three looks so good. But the fourth benefit is, I think, the compliance and the security aspect. The fact that not only can you compress and encrypt point to point, but you guys have audit trails and audit mechanisms, and we also have that same technology built into the object store. So from point to point, you can prove that a file has been transferred, who's accessed that file, whether it's been tampered with, either in transit or at rest. And I think that's a really big selling point, not for everyone, but for some very highly secure deployments, it's pretty important.
Yeah, and if you also look at, I mentioned we talked to various, public clouds. Storing the content may be free on the public cloud, but when you as soon as you go to try and retrieve it, this is where you pay. Having the same functionality on premise, there is no cost to retrieve that content. You can retrieve as much as you want, you can store as much as you want.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's definitely pros and cons to going to the cloud. I mean, we have organizations using our software to power their cloud. So we are believers in cloud for certain use cases. But if you want to control your content and make sure there's not a possibility for it to be compromised for any reason, whether it's regulatory reasons, whether if you're a federal agency, or whether you're a media entertainment company and you don't want your movie or your series to get out before it's launched, which is a really big issue in M&E. You really need this kind of secure mechanism, secure way to transfer files over large distances, because there's distributed workforces now. The days of everyone coming into the same building, I think, are over. So technologies like this are very important, and securing file transfer and data transfer and data access is very important for every industry.
Yeah, absolutely. So
So
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, next
So
steps.
back to you, I guess,
So,
Adrian.
yeah, so for the next step, you can email us for more information or a free trial of either product. So you email Caringo. We'll go ahead and route everything to the appropriate location on the FileCatalyst side. I believe we both have free trials. On the Caringo side, we have a developer edition. We give you 10 terabytes of our software that you can install. It's full featured. We don't really put any sort of limits on that 10 terabytes. We have a lot of organizations running their business on that 10 terabytes, and they have millions of files running and being organized, and they're getting a lot of value out of that package. It's VM-based, so it's very easy whether you have a VM farm already or whether you just want to run it, within a virtual machine on a laptop. You can go ahead and do that. Do you have I know we spoke about this, so you do have a free trial of your software, Eldon?
Yeah, absolutely. You can, again, either email info or visit www.filecatalyst.com, and we have a request free trial button that you can fill out the form, and someone gets back to you with the details.
Yeah, and if you're not ready to try yet, you can go ahead and contact either of us. You'll see our contact information on the next page. I'll just go ahead and forward that slide. You could contact either of us. You see our information there. Well, actually, we don't have our email addresses there. But you can contact either organization at a website, and we'll be sure to get responses to your questions. And with that, we'd like to open it up for questions if there are any questions from the audience. We do have one that came in while we were presenting, Eldon. So how long does it take to set up FileCatalyst?
That's a great question. So, because we are a software application, as long as you have the hardware in place and you have access to your network team, all you do is install the software, open up the ports in the firewall on the server side, and now a client can connect to that server, and access the files or upload content or retrieve content. So, we've been able to set up, networks and set up, some of our customers in under 30 minutes.
Yeah, on the Caringo side, it'll take not 30 minutes. Well, actually, 30 minutes with a VM. It's similarly easy to set up, but it really depends on the size of the deployment. So if you're setting up, petabytes of storage, it's going to take a while to rack and stack all that hardware. But once you have the hardware rack and stacked and you have all the necessary components installed and ready to go, we boot from bare metal. So you can install the software, and whether you have a Pixie server or whether you're booting from a USB drive, something like that, the software just installs on we like to install on dedicated hardware, but we can do it in VM. The product installs, and you have that additional hardware within your cluster immediately, and everything's balanced by itself. You don't have to do any sort of balancing or anything like that. Everything's pretty automated.
Yeah, and Adrian, I'm guessing with you guys, is it Linux-based, Windows, both? What operating system is it on?
Yeah, under the covers, we are Linux-based, but we strip out a lot of the code, and we build our own image. So
okay.
You can think of Caringo Swarm as its own storage operating system.
Okay.
As its own OS. Or you could also think of us as a highly scalable storage web server. But we have everything baked in. And that is how we differ from others. Others, you do have to go out and get a particular version of Linux, and you have to patch it to the appropriate level, and then you have to install the software, and there's a lot of kind of care and feeding of standing up a solution. And then you have to deal with metadata with the other guys, and that's entirely separate issue. But with us, it's all built in, and that's why we boot from bare metal. And we just we make it really easy to expand.
Nobody likes playing with Linux kernels.
Yeah, no one does. Well, there's a few out there. I mean, the Linux guys, there's definitely Linux guys. But there's also a lot of Windows shops out there, and they need to store massive amounts of information too, and it is an issue. How do you do that? via CFS and SMB in a file system world. It's difficult to do. But with products like ours, we kind of bridge the gap. So Windows shops don't need to have an intimate knowledge of Linux to use our solution.
Cool.
So go ahead and type in any questions if you want in the dialog box. But from a region perspective, where do you have deployments? Where have people used FileCatalyst, or where have organizations used FileCatalyst?
So we have deployments all across the world. I mean, all the way from LA to Australia, New Zealand. We have customers who are running FileCatalyst. As I showed you, some of our big customers. We have customers in India. We have Win TV in Australia that uses FileCatalyst. We have Panasonic in Japan. In LA, we have a number of post-production houses using us, as well as broadcasters. NBC Sports is one of our largest, FileCatalyst Direct customers. They use it for, all the Olympic events, as well as the, in-country events that they go. So the Kentucky Derby, Sunday Night Football, Thursday Night Football, all the NHL. They use FileCatalyst from the remote trucks to, bring content back to the, the broadcast station and, in Stanford. So we have a number of customers in that sense. What about you guys?
Yeah, we have the same. We have customers all over the world, but primarily we focus on North America, South America, EMEA, and parts of APAC. Okay. But we do have customers that fall out of those regions. And I was just about to ask you from a support perspective. Caringo, we do have global support, so we have resources to help you out in the different time zones. And we really pride ourselves on support. How about FileCatalyst, your support resources?
Yeah, so we offer support between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. Eastern Time. We do also have a 24/7 support that some of our premium customers buy into. But most of our support is handled between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. Eastern Time.
Yeah, that's always important with a lot of these use cases. It's file transfer and it's pretty critical. So it's always good to be able to call someone if you need to.
Yeah, and also we leverage a channel a lot. So we do a lot of indirect sales to our channel, and our channel will act as a first-level support within that country. So they're quite knowledgeable on FileCatalyst, and they've actually done the deployment, so they can usually answer most of the customers' questions before it comes to us.
Yeah, absolutely. We take a similar approach. So whenever possible, we like to go through the channel or through our partners first, but we also have direct resources if need be. Mm-hmm. And it looks like we have no other questions. Do you have any closing statements for everyone, Eldon?
Yeah, I mean, well, first and foremost, thank you very much for taking the time to join us today. I think it was a great webinar, and thanks to you, Adrian, and your team for setting this up and making it a successful webinar. As I said, if you guys are looking for a way to transfer files, if you're having any questions around file transfer, and more even from an information standpoint, not necessarily interested in doing a demo, by all means, feel free to contact us. We'll be happy to help you out, understand what you're trying to do, as well as answer any questions that you may have.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you for your time, Eldon. It was really good to do a deep dive on FileCatalyst. What you guys are doing is very impressive. And, as Eldon said, if anyone has any questions, feel free to reach out to us. Either company, either organization, we have our contact forms on our website, or you can email Caringo directly to info@caringo.com. Again, I'd like to echo what Eldon said. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us. And once again, Eldon, thank you for your time, and this concludes our webinar.
Thank you.
Thank you.